Hey, what's going on, everyone? Back at it again with another video, and I just had to get on and rant about this piece of shit again. Now, for those of you who don't know, I did a long rant video on the first season of this show. Yeah, right here. And I titled it The Worst Batman Cartoon because I thought it really was the worst Batman cartoon. So now here we are 2 years later. Well, okay, that it's almost 2 years later. And I'm tackling season 2 of this cartoon. Now, if you watch my original video when I ranted on season 1, I said I hope to God they don't make a season 2. Well, they made a season 2. And, I also kind of said I wouldn't talk about this show or even watch it ever again. But that was obviously a lie, because I do lie. And I wanted to check this season out because I heard some good things about it. I heard that a lot of people like the approach that they took with this season. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a watch. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was going to watch it anyway to see how bad it was anyway. And to make another rant video because I don't rant that often, but I love ranting on things, so that's another reason. So, yeah, but anyway, all that out of the way, let's talk about Batman Cape Crusader Season 2. Now, before I get into this, I would like to preference by saying I do like this season better than the first season. The first season was just god awful. Like, there was maybe one good episode, and that was the Gentleman Ghost. I like that episode, but, other than that, that season was god awful. So, alright, I'm just going to get right into it. We're going to rant on this piece of shit. Batman Cape Crusader Season 2. Still think this is the worst Batman cartoon. Okay, so starting with episode 1, where we get this very boring episode. And to be honest, I just couldn't get into it. Like, right away, I just couldn't get into it. Like, the first episode of this season didn't even get me intrigued. Like, I just, like, I wasn't invested in the slightest. Okay, because after watching the first season and then going into this one, seeing this version of Batman, it's just like I just couldn't get into it. So right away, I just couldn't get into it. I don't know if I mentioned it in my first season review, but the freaking Alfred being fat is just completely stupid. And honestly, I get what they were doing with that because Alfred was fat in some of the original Batman comics. Like I think Alfred was introduced in the early 40s, and yeah, he was fat and kind of I don't know, a comedic relief almost in the original Batman comics. And hell, even in the first Batman movie serial, Alfred was, fat and kind of the comedic relief. But yeah, Alfred's not that. And Alfred's not the comedic relief per se, but making him fat, I don't know. It's just like, why? Why would you, out of all the things to adopt from the early Batman stories, why would you adopt that? Out of all the things, why the hell would you adopt that? But anyway, the first episode, I guess, is kind of about Rupert Thorne. I guess. See, here's the thing. Earlier this week is when I started watching. And I can't even tell you anything about the first episode. That's how boring it was. I guess the Gordons are still together. Barbara Gordon, Commissioner Gordon. I mean, you have all that. Kind of generally what a first episode of a new season does. It sets up the show. Just see where these characters are. But this one's unmemorable. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. I really couldn't tell you anything about this first episode. I mean, so right away it was boring, and I just didn't like it. So there you go. That's the first episode. Now the second episode, I guess the villain is Roxy Rocket. Now I didn't know this at first because Roxy Rocket's not exactly an A-list villain. So, like, when I saw, or even a B-list, or a C-list, well, maybe a C-list. But, yeah, apparently that's Roxy Rocket. I mean, I guess that's alright. I still didn't like the episode. I thought the episode sucked. And I just really couldn't get into it. Like, and you're gonna notice a theme. Like, I don't like any of the characters on this show. I don't. And and especially this Batman, I thought he was a prick to Alfred the first season, calling him Pennyworth. And in like the last episode of the first season, he stopped doing it. But then in the beginning of this one, he's still calling him Pennyworth, so I don't know what's going on there. Um, but yeah, the villain, I guess, is Roxy Rocket. I guess that's cool. I don't know. Is that cool? I don't know. It was boring, though. Couldn't get into it. Now, this is where, like, this kind of stops becoming a rant and kind of saying some good things about the show, before I start ranting again, because the third and fourth episodes, honestly, I liked. So the third episode is about Bruce Wayne, where he, you know, disguises himself as a common criminal, goes to Blackgate, and befriends another criminal. He tries to get inside info. And the reason I liked this episode, though, is because it reminded me of what Bruce would do in Batman the Animated Series. There were quite a few occasions where Bruce Wayne would dress up as a crook and hang around these criminals to get inside info, and I always liked that. So this episode was kind of an homage to what Bruce Wayne did in the animated series and probably the comics as well. So this episode I actually liked. I liked seeing Bruce Wayne do this. Like, I always liked when he did it in the animated series. Now, at this point, it's being revealed that the main bad of this series is the Riddler. And now I'll get to the Riddler in a minute. I'll get to the Riddler in just a minute. But I do like this episode. But what I don't like about it is how easily Bruce gets shot without, flinching, or not flinching, but dodging the bullet. That kind of stuff I don't like. I'm not gonna, really spoil much, but that stuff I didn't like. But yeah, that I love when Bruce Wayne did that in the animated series. Would pose as a criminal to get inside info, and yeah, I mean that stuff. That stuff is really good detective work, and I always liked that. And then the fourth episode is kind of a Batman cult of different Batmans, and honestly, that one I liked as well. I liked the plot of that one. And I thought it was very interesting. But yeah, very interesting story about the Batman cult. And I thought that was a very fun and creative episode. So yeah, those are the standouts of this season. The third and fourth episodes. Those episodes, I'm not gonna lie, when I watched them back to back, because here's how I kind of watched the second season. I would watch 1 and 2 one day, then 3 and 4 the next, and I was like, okay, these episodes are pretty damn good. So, in the beginning of the video, when I said that I think Season 2 is better than Season 1, that's why, because of those 2 episodes. Those episodes, I'm not going to lie, were pretty good. But then it fucks up in Episode 5, because Episode 5 is, in my opinion, a very dumb episode. So, I guess they're executing this criminal. I don't really know the full story. I mean, I watched the episode, but I just wasn't invested in it. And when I saw this guy turn into a monster, I was thinking, okay, Solomon Grundy maybe. But no, this guy, I don't know what the hell this guy was supposed to be. I don't know. It was just a very boring episode. And we're kind of getting back to the show where it does these boring ass stories. Season 1, for example, had a lot of episodes like that, where you just don't remember what happens because the episode's boring. And I guess the one good thing I can say about this episode is it is set in Christmas, and it has a really nice Christmas aesthetic. I mean, I guess that's probably the best thing I can say about it, but I still think it's dumb. And the whole thing with the freaking zombie guy or whatever the hell, or he's like, do you forgive me? I thought that was stupid. So that was a very dumb episode. Okay, let's episode 6. Okay. So, episode 6 is probably my absolute least favorite episode, and the one I probably hate the most because it brings back Harley Quinn. And you guys already know, well, you guys probably haven't even watched my I don't know. I don't know what you guys know or what you guys don't know, but if you watched my season 1 deep dive, I guess you can call, or rant. No, it's mostly a rant. It's not really a deep dive. But if you watched my original video, I said that I hated what they did with Harley Quinn on the show. So naturally, I am going to hate this episode because it brings back this version of Harley Quinn, which I hate. The whole thing with Remy Montoya is really dumb. I don't know why the hell they decided that would be a good idea to make them partners. I don't mind, like, I want a preference. I don't mind Renee Montoya being lesbian, but why would she be lesbian with Harley Quinn? I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. And so, yeah, so they bring back Harley Quinn. Naturally, I'm going to hate that, so fuck this episode. We do have Scarecrow as the main bad of this episode, which, I mean, I'm not going to lie, like, I don't mind this version of Scarecrow. I don't think they completely fucked up Scarecrow, so that's a good thing. I don't love his design, though. I think his design sucks. But what they ended up doing with Scarecrow, I don't mind. But yeah, getting back to Harley Quinn, I don't know why the hell they decided to bring her back. I mean, I thought that was absolutely stupid and unnecessary. So, yeah, fuck this episode as well. Okay, what am I up to? That was episode 6. Yeah, but that was the worst episode. That was actually the worst fucking episode. The first episode of this season was just boring. The last one I talked about, episode 5, that was boring as well. This episode just sucks because they had to bring back Harley Quinn, and I absolutely hate this version of Harley Quinn. So yeah, fuck this episode. Okay, moving on. Episode 7, we have episode 7. Fuck, I'm blanking. Hang on. Okay, so I'm back. So episode 7 is the Poison Ivy episode. And that episode was really fucking stupid. Okay, so I guess the Riddler, who okay, now I could talk about Riddler. I absolutely hate what they did to Riddler in this. Okay, so the Riddler is way off of character, and they kind of make him the big bad up until this point, and I thought that was absolutely stupid. Okay, it worked in the Batman, the live action, the Batman movie. Still waiting on that sequel. Making Riddler the big bad in that way, that was awesome. What they did with him here, they just made him a generic mob boss. I thought that was stupid. Riddler's a character that you can't really do that with. I mean, you could try, but it's not gonna work. Okay, having Riddler like do his own thing with the riddles and not make him entirely goofy, but like for example, what they did with him in Batman the Animated Series, like just do that. You can obviously try to differ away from that a little bit, but to make Riddler almost like this big like bad gangster, I didn't think it worked. There are some people that liked it, and to each their own. But I couldn't stand what they did with Riddler in this, and Poison Ivy, what they did with her, I thought was absolutely stupid. So, yeah, this whole episode was dumb. I just, I couldn't stand it. And also, freaking Mad Hatter. Oh my god, this show. Okay, so remember last season when they made Penguin a woman? Yeah, they thought that was a good idea to do to Mad Hatter as well, because Mad Hatter's a woman in this. And what's funny about this is I didn't even know that was supposed to be Mad Hatter until someone pointed it out. And I was like, what the hell? So they don't entirely make Mad Hatter the main, like a villain. She's on like this, like, I don't know, show. I don't know. I mean, because there's certain episodes where like Mad Hatter shows up on the TV, and it's basically Mad Hatter's a woman. So there's that. So there's another character they took, an established character, and they changed their gender because they just felt like it. Fucking stupid. And when I talk about this show, whenever I talk about it with people, they always give me the same thing. Oh, it's an else world. It's an else world. Okay, well, if it is an else world, then make it a better else world. Don't do that. Like, this cartoon is supposed to be Batman in the 40s. Why can't you just do an actual full-fledged Batman cartoon that takes place in the 40s, doesn't, change the villains in any way, and just do that? No, they can't do it. They have to change all these characters. So yeah, I don't know. So yeah, they did it to Mad Hatter too. So not only does the Penguin have tits, but so does Mad Hatter. Okay, whatever. But yeah, I just hate it when they do that to established characters. I think it's unnecessary, and it's fucking stupid. But anyway, episode 8 is the Mr. Freeze episode, or I'm sorry, Mr. Zero. Now, I did think that was a little bit clever that they called Mr. Freeze Mr. Zero, because, if you read the old Batman comics, when Mr. Freeze is first introduced, he is called Mr. Zero. So that was kind of clever. But I hated what they did with Mr. Freeze in this. I hated his design. I mean, his design fucking sucked. And what they ended up having him do I thought was stupid. And yeah, I couldn't get into it. And I'm not one of those guys that says, oh, well, you can't do Mr. Freeze without doing the wife story, the tragic story, the Heart of Ice. I'm not like that, because here's the thing. The Batman, the 2004, the Batman cartoon, that cartoon didn't do the Mr. Freeze and, his wife and stuff like that. That cartoon actually differed away from that and made Mr. Freeze, before he became Mr. Freeze, a common crook that became Mr. Freeze. And that I liked, and I'm actually glad that cartoon didn't just rip off what Batman the Animated Series did with Heart of Ice, because as much as I love Heart of Ice, Batman the Animated Series is great, and they created that, and I don't think every cartoon should borrow from that. So I liked what the Batman did with Mr. Freeze in that cartoon. So I don't mind them differing away from the whole wife story arc. But if you're going to do it, like, give us a better story than what you're doing here with Mr. Freeze. Because his design sucks. And I don't know. I mean, like, really, you have to do that with Mr. Freeze? Like, can't you just make him, I don't know, Mr. Freeze? But, well, anyway, I don't know. I mostly just hated his design. I mean, come on. Really? You couldn't give him his suit? Anyway, so then you get Carrie Kelly, Robin. Well, she's not Robin, but she dresses up as the Gray Ghost. Now that I didn't mind. I mean, that's, it's kind of weird, but I didn't really mind it that much. So then she shows up, saves Batman, and it's a whole thing. But Batman just is a complete dick to her early on, and just calls her a waste of time. Like, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, why does this Batman have to be overly cruel? I don't get it. But yeah, then, she tags along as the Gray Ghost, and Batman apologizes. So I mean, I guess that's good, but whatever. I don't know. Also, spoiler alert for the last episode, but Riddler does get killed by Poison Ivy, and they're setting up a new big bad, which is none other than the Joker. And they try to set him up in episode 8. Then we get into episode 9, and it is set up that the Joker is the main bad of this season, which I'm not really shocked because they've kind of teased the Joker in the last season. So I'm not really shocked about that. But let's talk about this. Okay, so thing about this version of Joker is what they're doing with him. I get what they're trying to do with him. They're trying to make him more like how Joker first appeared in the comics, where he doesn't laugh that much, and he's more like somber, kind of. I get what they're doing with that, but am I really a fan of it? Not really. I mean, I don't get it. So yeah, they're making Joker the big bad of this season, which I will admit makes more sense than making Riddler the big bad, but it's still just, with this version of Joker, I don't know if it works. And what's with Batman and just like getting shot and not dodging the bullets? Because when Joker shows up to wherever Joker showed up, I don't really exactly remember, the club or whatever. But then Batman comes down, Joker just gets a gun and says, you're in my way, shoots him, and Batman just goes down. Batman, of course, has like a bulletproof vest, so, there's that. But it's also just like, what? Why? What? Like, Batman would have just blocked that shot. So, like, Joker just shoots Batman and Batman goes down. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? So, yeah, Joker affects everyone with his laughing gas, and this kind of carries over into the finale, the 10th episode. And basically, he's just doing his thing, making everyone laugh, the laugh gas. I mean, that's something Joker would do. So, hey, at least it has that going for it. But it's still just like, really? Like, what are we doing? Because Joker just ends up dying anyway. Spoiler alert. And I guess it's kind of an homage to Batman #1 because if I'm not mistaken, Joker does die at the end of that comic. But it's still like, Batman, you killed Joker. Even though I don't entirely mind that because Batman has killed Joker in other things that I liked. Like, the first Batman movie with Michael Keaton. That's my favorite Batman movie, and Batman does, in all intents purposes, kill Joker at the end of that. So I can't really fault, Batman, rather if it was intentional or not, killing Joker at the end of this. But then they start doing that cliffhanger bullshit where, oh, we can't find Joker's body. So I don't know if Joker's going to be back in the third season or not. I hope they don't make a third season, but they're probably going to. But yeah, rather if Joker comes back in the third season or not, who the hell knows? But what I'm getting at is, like, I'm not entirely a fan of what they did with Joker in this season. It wasn't terrible, like it wasn't like too far out, but I just couldn't enjoy it. I couldn't get into it. Seeing this version of Joker, it's just like, what are you doing? And what else do I hate about this season? Flax, the freaking cop that works with Renee Montoya, is a complete ass. I don't like what they did with him. I don't really like this version of Bullock either. He's kind of just like a cop, though. He's not detective yet. But I don't really like what they're doing with him. The only thing I could say I like is the Gordons. Like, I do like what they're doing with the Gordons. I mean, it is boring, but I don't mind. Like, I like what they're doing with them. I did like Scarecrow and the third and fourth episode, but other than that, fuck this season. I mean, this season wasn't as bad as the first season, but still, fuck it. I just couldn't get into it. And another problem I have is the animation. I mean, it's just so fucking generic. Like, what are we doing? And I don't like how the characters move. I mean, I guess they're trying to go for that Fleischer animation, which is great animation for like the 40s, but like here it just looks generic. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I just, and the first season, I didn't like, before it came out, I was like, this animation's pretty good, but the more you watch the show, it's just like, really? Like, that's the animation? I don't know. I don't really like the animation of this cartoon, especially compared to all the other Batman cartoons. Like, Batman the Animated Series, nothing's beating that animation. The Batman had, in my opinion, really great animation. Kind of an anime aesthetic almost. Batman the Brave and the Bold, classic, Silver Age animation. So, yeah, very classic looking. 50s, 60s. Love that animation. Beware the Batman. The CGI wasn't that great. But to be honest, at least it was something different, and it wasn't entirely god awful. I mean, it still looked like it wasn't great, but it looked unique, like kind of like that 2003 Spider-Man cartoon that MTV did with its CGI. Like, it didn't look as good as that, but like it was still kind of unique. And because we've never had a Batman cartoon in full-fledged CGI. But this animation's just generic and uninspiring. I mean, unless if you want to make the argument it's inspired by the old Batman comics, but like I don't know. I just couldn't get, and maybe that's just a problem because we've been spoiled all these years with Batman cartoons that had great animation. I don't know if that's just me, but whatever. But yeah, and currently I'm also watching My Adventures with Superman, the third season, and that season's great. I mean, that there's a cartoon that actually deserved a second season and is definitely deserving this third season because that cartoon's great. Can't wait for the last 2 episodes of that. But yeah, Batman Cape Crusader, this cartoon is still pretty bad. And, like I said, this season is a tad better than the first, but not really by much. I mean, hey, this has a better report card than the first season. I mean, the first season had one decent episode. This season has 2 pretty good episodes. But other than that, pretty bad season. Couldn't get into it. More character assassination and filling out agendas, and it's just, yeah, no, not that great. So, Batman Cape Crusader Season 2. If I had to rate the whole season, I don't know, say 2 out of 10. I mean, the first season would definitely be a 0 out of 10. I don't know. I'm not really good at rating things, but yeah. Anyway, this season, show's still not that good. And I hope they don't make a third season, but they're probably going to, especially with the cliffhangers and saying, oh, well, we didn't find his body yet, so Joker might be back for the third season. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I can't recommend this season. I mean, the cons the cons outweigh the pros, unfortunately. So yeah, but anyway, that's my rant on the second season of Batman Cape Crusader. And hopefully I won't have to talk about this cartoon again, but if there's a third season and there's stuff I don't like about it, I'm probably going to rant about this season again. Or this show again, I should say. So, anyway, that's my rant. Fuck this Batman cartoon. So, yeah.